It's showtime, bitches. Fuck that monetization, because I'm going to cuss right off the bat, so that's that. So I had a really fun time last night. We did the Compass Show live at the tavern. It's very, very interesting, engaging experience. Got to meet some movers and shakers from around the town. So anyway, that was that thing. We got a hunting weekend next weekend, so it's going to be a crazy run here for the rest of the year, for me at least. Busy. So we're almost in agreement at gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, find us on YouTube. Go to almostinagreement.com, check out all the stuff we got going on there. Again, it's almostinagreement at gmail.com. Shoot us an email, tell us what we're missing, and go to your favorite podcast provider, and while you're at that place, give a like, follow, share, friend, whatever the platform does to help encourage us and other people to enjoy what we do. So we're almost in agreement. We're going to do a show, people. Here we go. Hi, Fran.
Hey.
What's happening?
Not much.
Anything new and exciting in your life?
Nothing crazy.
Crazy.
I said nothing crazy.
I know. I'm just saying, I
consider it exciting. Something good.
Okay. If it's crazy, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I didn't ask what's exciting. I asked what's
crazy
new.
could go either way.
I said new and exciting. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have any particular top story that I was raring to go about. Craziness all around.
It's been a couple
the president, the president of the United States and the president of Ukraine were the only heads of state to come to the UN Security Summit in New York this week.
Huh, didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah.
I knew there was some kind of summit, but
yeah. And Zelensky said that we should denuclearize Russia, that the UN should do that. I mean, okay, it's a good idea. I don't necessarily disagree with the premise, but
right.
There's a big old how in that statement.
Right.
I mean, sure, why not? Let's see how that goes.
I know he spoke to Congress and I guess to a select group of people behind the scenes in Congress. That apparently went pretty well. A lot of people liked, I guess, what he was saying. Another
$24 billion going out the next couple of weeks or something like that. Essentially, it's $24 billion a quarter. So $100 billion a year we're sending to Ukraine.
Okay.
I'm just saying that's essentially what the going rate is.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about $24 billion a quarter. Yes. That is approximately what it is. The planes in Georgia. Did we talk about that last week? I think it was before last week's show. Forgot about it.
Planes. I don't think so.
The fucking F-22 Raptor that fell out of the sky and they couldn't find.
That happened just 3 days ago, I'm pretty sure.
Was it 3 days ago?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I knew I wanted to talk about it here, but I feel like it happened.
Maybe I just saw it reported on a few days ago.
Yeah, I think it was last week. I think it was before we taped last week and we got busy doing some other stuff and I forgot to talk about it.
Or there was some joke, but there was headlines kind of making fun of. I guess he called 911 at some point and said he wasn't sure where the plane went down at.
Yeah. Something happened with the plane. I mean, I don't know. Because this whole, I don't know if have you followed any of the story of this particular project?
No.
Not just the particular story, but the plane itself?
No.
Dude, you didn't even let me finish before you said no, so I wanted to figure out what you were saying no to.
What I don't know much about the story at all. I just saw a clip that
right, but I'm talking about the story of this plane prior to the story that happened 3 days ago or whatever.
Is this the one they abandoned because it was costing so much damn money? Well, no, I don't think they ever produced that one. There was some plane that was in R&D for a long time.
I think this might have been it. It might have been a different one. It might have been both.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. I interrupted.
Oh, it took $1 trillion to develop, and it's a $750 million aircraft that got lost somewhere in Georgia. It's just a crazy story all over. Essentially, there was something happened with the plane. The pilot ejects, and they had no idea where the plane was. The beacon or whatever on it was part of the malfunction, and so they didn't have any active tracking.
Yeah.
It's a stealth aircraft, so they couldn't radar track it. It was on the ground anyway, so you couldn't radar it on the ground or whatever. And so the Department of Defense puts out a public notice to all the news outlets and stuff like that. Basically, have you seen our airplane? If so, call this number.
Yeah, I thought I heard they found some pieces they thought may have been part of it, but
yeah, it was actually kind of fun. I got to the kids had heard about it somehow, and so I got I got my eldest and one of his buddies that I give a ride home from school, and they'd heard about it somehow, and they made a joke about it, and I was like, all right, let's play some math here, guys. And so we did some math practice, and I was like, all right, so how fast do you think that plane goes? How fast do you think it might have been going? And they're like, well, since he was jumping out, he might have tried to slow it down before he ejected, so he didn't have to deal with all the wind. It's like, okay, like 500 miles an hour? It's like, oh, I don't know, maybe. How high in the air do you think it might have been? It's like 10,000 feet? Okay. How far do you think that thing could go at 350 miles an hour from 10,000 feet? We didn't do exact math, but it was fun. They thought about it. Like, they put some thought into it, and it was an interesting little conversation.
At least hypothesized and tried to theorize.
Right. You know, it's like, assuming it went straight, we don't even know if it went straight. It could have turned. It could have nosedived and went straight down. We don't know. And that's the problem. It's like, because, like, we giggle about, you know, how hard is it to find an exploded aircraft, but, I mean, Georgia gets pretty sparse.
Yeah.
Or South Carolina? Georgia. South Carolina, sorry. Parts of South Carolina get pretty sparse out there in the peach orchards and whatnot.
That's true.
Yeah. I think South Carolina is the number one producer of peaches in the nation, even though Georgia's known for
I
it.
like them swampy areas, too.
Yeah. You know, I mean, hell, who knows? Like, you know, at that speed and height, it, you know, if it was going towards the coast, it could be out in the Atlantic Ocean somewhere.
Yeah, could have caught a little updraft or something.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
Right.
But I just like the idea of the Department of Defense being like, hey, that was, I'm sorry, that's just funny. We lost our toy. Can you help us find it?
What would you rather them do?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the...
I guess
that
sounds pretty fucking logical to me, it's ha-ha funny.
It is ha-ha funny.
Okay.
It makes me giggle.
I don't see the humor in it.
Well, it's because you're humorless.
That is true. Oh.
At least on this particular item.
Yeah.
You're the painfully dry humor person I know. Okay, so that was that one. Let's see.
Some crazy natural disasters, or I guess worldwide.
Hit me.
Like the, I think it was Morocco. Like last I saw, it was up to something like 8,000 people dead.
Flooding?
Yeah.
I think I heard about one of those. I don't know. Like, it kind of runs together at this point. There's a flood or an earthquake or a landslide somewhere.
Oh, no, sorry, yeah. Morocco had the earthquake, and I think Libya had the flood.
Damn.
Yeah. I think the earthquake was like 2,000 maybe. 1,000, 2,000 possibly.
Oh, okay. So from the podcast last night.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, there wasn't much more to it.
Okay. On the podcast last night, I'd asked Scott and Jesse about the terms of contract between the county and the ambulatory services.
Yeah.
They were talking about last week. It is a lot more basic than I thought it was. It is literally just response times. So they have a couple different sectors of the county or whatever. So if you're way out in rural county, you have from the second 911 dispatches, the ambulance has like 25 minutes to pick you up.
Yeah.
But in the more urban part of downtown or whatever, it's like 12 minutes. And so there's kind of like a tiered system. Like it depends on what.
That's any of the subcontractors?
Yeah. I mean, that's what the at least the current contract that's expiring. That's the kind of crazy part about the story too, is that this contract or this issue happened right when this week that's ending right now was when County Commission puts out their official request for bids. Or I'm sorry, where the deadline is for bids on the new contract that they're going to start here in a couple months. And so like the timing of it's just kind of accidentally perfect because it's like, hey, we had a problem with that. Hey, we're getting a new contract anyway, so don't worry about it.
Right.
We're going to fix this anyway. But apparently like so AMR or Priority or whichever one of these companies gets the contract, it's really just, you know, that whatever staffing they feel like they need to get to people X. And then at least unless if you're unconscious, they take you to the nearest hospital, period. And so there, at least as far as I gather, there doesn't seem to be anything in the wording that says the most efficient version. It's just the fastest.
Yeah.
And so I guess I had higher expectations for the way the county dealt with that than the way they do. Because again, I think it's a gray area question that could be contracted as far as the hospital that can take the patient the fastest may not be the one that is the closest to where you pick the patient up at.
Right.
And I think that should be the priority personally, not the nearest.
I would say in some instances, I guess if you had an actual like paramedic on there that was able to kind of like diagnose and be like, oh, it's probably this issue. You know, this hospital doesn't have equipment to either test this or, you know, et cetera.
I don't know how that works too, because I guess I would assume that there's that the same or other ambulatory services do transfers between hospitals. Because I know, UT is the only level 1 trauma center in the region.
Yeah. I was thinking that's what Priority did, but I don't know. Maybe they do kind of regular calls. I always kind of thought Priority might have just been transferring.
I mean, I would guess too that you have some nursing homes and stuff like that have kind of a deal worked out where they have an ambulatory service that helps them get their patients to and from the hospital to the nursing home and stuff like that. They're more in need patients than the ones that can just get on their little bus. They all seem to have the little bus,
right.
But yeah, I don't know. But I was a little bit at a loss. I figured there was more to it than just a semi-complicated from the moment dispatch sends the call to the moment you pick them up is the only real parameter that they have.
Yeah.
And so the number of trucks is up to the company, the number of people out, whatever is up to the company. And apparently, yes, at a couple of the hospitals, they kind of have their own triage area where the trucks will, the ambulances will come and drop their patients off with, and if there's more than one truck there, one will stay with multiple patients and the other will go back out to the road.
Yeah.
So one might be stuck there for hours, but at least 2 or 3 aren't, theoretically.
Right. I've heard that at times where, hospitals have been, overrun or whatever just by it being a holiday or whatever, that some just sitting there waiting in line to even just admit their patients to the hospital.
Well, because I think to me it's an illustration of the issues with the system at large. I really think is what it is, because how many people calling ambulance that don't need an ambulance? How many people go to the ER that don't need to be going to the ER for their particular issue?
Right.
But we have all kind of fallen into this trap, and I don't really think it's a patient issue. Or maybe it's a lack of knowledge by the patients, but I think there's something wrong in it that's everybody's assumption.
I'd say some of it's just erring on the side of caution. Somebody calls 911, they're experiencing, some kind of, even they think it's a medical emergency. The 911 operator, shouldn't be like, oh, that's probably nothing. Don't worry about it. Give it 30 minutes. Call me back. Right. Be like, okay, you think something's going on? I'm going to send an ambulance to you.
Yeah, but I mean, again, but that compounded with, because we had an incident with one of the staffers. He had pinched a nerve in his back,
right,
and kind of got woozy and lightheaded. And I happened to be nearby and kept him from actually falling and kind of laid him down gently. And
right.
We called and the fire truck shows up, and then the ambulance shows up, and I mean, realistically, by the time all was said and done, we would have been better off just driving him down there. He didn't need to be on the stretcher. He didn't need to be in the back of that bus.
Right.
Now, I mean, again, it's situation. I think situationally it's problematic, but there's 7 of us there. Any one of us would have happily driven to the hospital and sat with him.
Right, but none of you are medically trained.
Sure, and I guess
the biggest thing is getting a medically trained professional to that person to then possibly be able to evaluate.
But the evaluation happens, and it's he needs to go to the hospital. But do we need to be the ones that drive? I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm trying to look for some ways around this, but I think it's probably one of those legal things.
Pretty sure he can refuse.
Yeah,
they can't force him to get in the ambulance.
Perhaps.
I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah. Well,
tell them fuck off. They may still try to charge you for coming out or something, but they may charge you half since it's not really a full ride. They only came one way.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question too.
I mean, that's what I would do if they're like, well, we can take you. If all of a sudden it just happened to be a 5-10 minute low blood sugar or something,
right?
Kind of situational thing.
So yeah. So anyway, I try to follow up on that to get a little bit more understanding of it. So that contract is out. It's bidding right now. All the bids are in, and so the county commission will have to start doing their process.
I wonder what recourse is, or what's in the contract of how many times they can not meet their
90% of the time they have to hit it. They can miss 10% of the time without penalty, and then there's basically just a fine. They do fine penalties, but apparently commission routinely excuses.
Yeah,
because I guess the reality of the conversation is the contract is really only to be the one that dispatch calls.
Yeah,
county doesn't pay anything for it,
but they're profiting off of it, I guess, of being the main one to call.
Sure, the company that wins the contract is
right.
is going to get the most work
right
in that field. But I'm saying for the county, for the county side of it, all it really does is say, dispatch is going to call you. And here are our rules. And so, like, you know, they rack up all these fines, and then periodically the commission just forgives the fines. And it's like, well, okay, I guess you're not, since we're not paying them, it's not like you're getting our money back or whatever. And maybe there's some rules on what they can spend the fines on, and what they don't want is a ambulance just to say, well, screw it, we can't functionally do any services here if you're going to take $100,000 in fines off us. So we'll just forgive the fines because we don't know what else to do. Like, I don't know.
Wonder if they're tax exempt at all.
It's a valid question.
Yeah. Did you see Seema Singh announce she's going to run for Glory?
I did. She was there. She was there last night too.
Awesome.
Got to hang out with her for a little bit, among others. Yes, I did see that. It was actually kind of funny. You know, it was like, so what we did is like a happy hour. Everybody kind of chilled, had a few drinks, talked, just kind of everybody milling about, chatting and stuff like that. And then we did the live podcast. So everybody's milling about and stuff like that. And, you know, like I'm in the weird spot where I'm wearing two hats. I'm part of the event, but I'm also the host venue of the event. And so I'm running around trying to make sure the staff's got what they need. And we're getting service out and doing all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to hang out near the front door so that as people come in, I can help direct them to where everybody else is at and stuff like that. So I happened to walk by and the news was on, and Seema was on the news. Like, Seema, you're on TV. And so she's like, what? And then she looks up, and as soon as she looks up, it's over, whatever the little segment was is over. Yeah, the District 90 has got a couple candidates already. Seema officially, but a couple other candidates already in the pipeline and conversation. I figure we'll start hearing a lot pretty quickly on actual, like, poll treasurers. You know, again, we don't get... they're not allowed to pull petition until, like, the first of the year, so... Or maybe just... No, it's in December they can pull petition. But apparently most of the people, they pull their petition, get the signatures they need, turn the petition back in, and then wait until the holidays pass before they really get to work. Becky Massey's got a primary challenger, and I forgot her name. Something Irvine, whom is a professional etiquette teacher. Because that's a thing still, I guess.
Yeah. Still people that want to be sophisticated.
Yeah. But, you know, I could see some value in some etiquette education in our state house.
Yeah.
With the way the last couple of years have gone. Probably wouldn't hurt. But she's
I think
also
it's a lost cause, but
she's also like she's on the board or maybe the president of the Tennessee Right to Life Foundation. And so she is on the far right on the abortion issues. She's a super school choice person, which I don't particularly have a qualm with per se, but she's coming at Massey from the right. She's further right than Massey is. You know, and so I don't know. I like Massey, so we'll have to see how things shake down by the time we get there and who's what. But
interesting.
But yeah, because I mean, go ahead.
I was going to go to national.
Oh
yeah.
Well, because I mean, you got Massey, Massey's a Duncan, and Duncans in East Tennessee have been prevalent.
Yeah. In
politics, for lack of words. So she has a good pedigree. And I give her mad props for not running on the Duncan. She runs as Massey, not as a Duncan.
Right.
But, you know, everybody still knows she's a Duncan. And while all the other Duncans have retired and this, that, and the other, and I think she's the youngest of the set, of the kids anyway. You know, I've enjoyed talking to her. I think she's a pretty solid, kind of moderate Republican. She goes along to get along with Republican issues, but then she kind of has some of her own stuff that's a little bit back towards the center. And so, I don't know. We'll see what the issue du jour is when we get closer to election season.
I'm sure there'll be some nice polite flyers going out.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be, she's a rhino and she's not really a Republican. Guarantee it.
I'm just shaking my head because it's just hilarious.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this is the systematic issue. I was listening to an interview with Andrew Yang, and it's one of the things he was talking about. It's like when you really get down to the brass tacks of it, especially in like a District 18 or a District 6 in Tennessee State Senate, when you get out of the brass tacks of it, like of the people who actually bother to vote, like 12% are the people are actually making these decisions.
Yeah.
Because it's really just, because like 20%, I think, is what the average national average is. I don't know what the local is, but like 20% of the electorate actually votes in primaries. And when you get into some of these districts that the Republican's going to win no matter what, so you're really getting down to whoever the primary winner is. And so, you win, you squeak by, like, it's a close primary at 51-49. It's, 10,000 people, 11,000 people voted for you, and now you're representing almost 200,000 people.
Yeah.
It's kind of sucky. Ranked choice, bitches. Anyway, national, what were you going to say?
I don't know if you saw that Ken Paxton, the Texas AG, had his trial and got acquitted.
Yeah, the Senate or whatever. I guess Texas impeachment process is the same as federal, as far as like it's not.
Apparently, it was pretty strong in the House as far as like voting to convict, but I guess Senate has the final say or do the actual.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same. Like
voting and
the House brings
trial itself.
Right, the House brings the charges, and the Senate is the jury on said charges.
Yeah, apparently, Trump Jr. put out a big thing that anybody that votes to impeach him, he was going to make sure that they didn't get elected. Essentially, I guess just encourage other other politicians to
do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Yeah, do the right thing. I mean, it's a valid threat these days. It works.
I guess.
Do as you're told, or we'll primary you, because they know it. They know that 10-12% stat that I was just running on. They know that it doesn't take them a ton, and the people who do bother with primaries and stuff, and especially in, I think, I don't know, I don't have the stats on this, but I think especially in this kind of new Trumpy era of the right, the Trump side knows that they can activate people to come out for a primary that might not have otherwise. And when you have a place that, might have tight primaries year in and year out, but you have an inswell of 2,000, 5,000 voters who are activated by a Trump message for the Trump candidate, that's more than enough to win that primary. And then that Trumpy candidate is up against some Democrat that has no chance in hell to win that seat anyway. And everybody on that ticket looks at that ticket and goes, I don't like either of these people. Well, I guess I'll vote for the Republican.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Mr. Paxton, he's still got, I think, like at least one, if not two, like federal charges still going against him.
Wonder how that works with the federal charges. Like, just
how do you mean?
I don't know. Like, it's like I don't know. It confuses me when like the different jurisdictions are playing their games. It's like, it's the same thing with the Trump stuff.
Weird thing that'd probably be a different trial to actually get him disbarred, because I'm assuming he could not be an acting attorney general without a law license.
Yeah, I don't know. But the
bar
association is a whole different governing body.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That would be a separate trial.
But yeah,
I wonder, even if he got convicted, if he could still be
like, is it automatic if you're an attorney? Is it automatic that you lose your license if you're convicted of a felony or something?
I don't know. It may be a more a quicker process. They may not have to actually like have some kind of like meeting or some kind of trial. Not really trial, but some kind of like court date to actually do it. There may be some kind of 3-judge panel that looks at it and was like, okay, we've decided you're losing your license.
Oh, I'm gonna put a call out to our loyal friend on that one.
He just may know.
How do I want to word this? So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna be a little lawyery vague. Is disbarment automatic if you're convicted of a crime?
He's probably gonna say it depends.
Yeah,
like any good lawyer, it depends. It depends on the situation. It depends on circumstances.
Through many efforts and whatnots, I got my Memphis red light camera ticket taken care of. No fine, no nothing.
Yeah, I always wanted to give you shit, but I figured I'd just wait till later.
What are you going to give me shit about?
You're always giving politicians shit for like not doing stuff or not doing their job when they should be, taking care of other stuff. And apparently they, I guess, swung their thing around.
I mean, it's I'll leave names out because I don't know exactly. The appropriateness of my
honestly, I was disappointed you even kicked it up to someone.
Okay, so to
Sorry,
me,
that's a bitch move.
Well, to me Okay.
Take care of your own shit.
What do you mean take care of my own shit?
What do you mean?
Well, okay, so how would you? Okay, so how would you have taken it?
How would I have taken it?
How would you have handled
I'm assuming somewhere on that piece of paper has a way to appeal it.
And you know what that is?
What?
It's a trip to Memphis to go appear in court.
I don't think so.
I think so because I went through the fucking process. It says if you think this is incorrect, you can sign this and put some information in here and mail it back to us in the envelope we gave you, which is the one they want to check in.
All right.
And we'll get in touch with you on when your court date is.
Okay.
And so I went to their website and I called the fucking number on it and I went through a whole bunch of shit directly with them. I was like, "There's no way this is me."
Just if they can do
clear.
A lot of courts do court over Zoom now. Like
it is clear as day.
I live 6 hours away or whatever.
It is clear as day with the evidence you presented that this is not me.
Right.
It's clear. It's even clear in the evidence. Your
did
own
you try
evidence.
to call them and explain that to them?
Yes, I did. And they're like, "Well, you could send us a picture of your license plate and a copy of your
That's what
registration."
I was about to say. I was like, why don't you take a picture of your license plate? Like, here's my car, here's my license plate. This is.
I was like,
not
"You
the
already
same."
have my license plate and my registration. It's in the documents you sent me. And the picture does not clearly show my license plate. You cannot tell on it. It's a car. My registration says it's a pickup truck. This is clearly not me." And they're like, "Well, you can email this person." So I email this person, and I get well, if you want to sign the thing and send it back to us, we can set a court date for you. And I was like, it's not worth me driving to Memphis for a $50 traffic fine. This is ridiculous. What's my next step? The options that were presented to me are you can drive to Memphis and contest this, or you can pay $50. I have a philosophical issue with both of those things. What's next?
I mean, I wouldn't have paid it either.
Okay, what's next then? How do you deal with it?
I would go to court.
You would drive to Memphis, spend a couple $100
Yeah.
to offset it?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's wrong. I don't know that's the way you want to handle it. That's fine.
I'm pretty sure you could countersue. I mean, you'd have to hire a lawyer to do it and be like, "Hey, I took time out of my day, so that's lost wages. That's gas to get here. All over this bullshit."
I don't think
it's worth a shot.
It's worth a shot. It's not something that I have the time or energy to give a shit about. I think the people the people who are elected persons, who I mean, one on a purely philosophical one is it's not my fucking job. It's your job, not you personally. It's your job, the police department of Memphis, to prove that was me. And you can't. So why do I have to prove that it wasn't? That's not how the law is supposed to work. This premise of, well, we sent you a ticket, you got to pay it.
Then you're so certain that you don't have to go to court. If they have to prove it, they have the burden. I agree with you. They have the burden of proof.
Right. And they don't. And so I refuse to acknowledge it. And so I went through my version of the process.
That's what a lot of people say, like the red light cameras, because it's not actually, unless it's actual camera done by the city. But I think a lot of the ones here in town it's like some third party, like camera providing service. It's like out of Chicago or some crazy shit.
Yeah, and honestly,
heard like
I kind of resigned
if you get them like that.
I kind of resigned to just letting it go and seeing what happens.
Right.
I was working at the West Store on Wednesday, and I did a bunch of different stuff. I was working on a bunch of different projects and stuff that I've been working on, and for whatever reason, like it tickled the back of my brain and it was like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm going to email somebody about this because this just doesn't seem right to me. Because I think that's I went to the correct body of person. It's not like I went to county commission,
right?
I didn't email some Shelby County elected official. I emailed to somebody that had actual jurisdiction theoretically over the conversation. It's one of my state representatives who has the wherewithal and contacts to help seek a resolution for this for me. And so that's what I did. What?
Kind of narrowed it down there. You may want to cut that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to the state.
Okay. How many reps do you have?
Did I say reps?
You did.
Shit. I might have to cut it out then.
Somebody's listening to you. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's not something I would have done. I would not reach out to my local rep to deal with a fucking camera ticket.
It's not the deal.
That's a big favor to ask for something very, very small.
I mean, I didn't think it was a favor.
I mean,
I didn't ask them to take
the rural
care
metro
of it for
thing.
me.
I can kind of see that's more local, and that's something they may.
Right, and I went to county commission on that because that's the correct oversight committee for said body, which I didn't know that at the time. I just kind of got lucky on that.
Right.
But I mean, I think, I don't know. Again, that's one of my issues that you make fun of me for all the time. I feel like somebody should be able to answer my fucking questions. And to be clear, I didn't ask for them to take care of it for me. I asked for some assistance in trying to figure out how to deal with this. I said, hey, this is ridiculous. It clearly wasn't me.
Why the hell do you think that they would know about a third-party company that does red light tickets?
I mean,
how would they have that much more knowledge over it?
Well, the state of Tennessee as a governing body has oversight over any entity that operates in the state of Tennessee as a government body, except for any federal agents. Knoxville Police Department, at the end of the day, answers to the state house or the state senate or the governor's office, whatever the state laws are in place.
Even with the home rule?
Yeah.
Wow.
At some level, at least, maybe not in totality, maybe 80% of the, like, if it's codes enforcement or something like that, it's a local thing. But at the end of the day, you know, like, all the 1,600 bills a cycle that we talk about, the ones that actually are in the criminal justice portion of the legislation, is therefore obligated to the local municipalities and their police departments and or sheriff's offices. I mean, what are they writing bills for if there's no enforcement arm of it? And who's the enforcement arm? Like, TBI is supposed to take care of everything across the state?
I don't know if they actually have any bills on red light cameras. I think it's, you know, kind of the way the federal government gives the state the right to make their own laws.
But even in that, the state would have to give permission for the locals to allow it. I don't think Memphis can just do it. I think it would have to be that the state, like, it'd be one of those that the state has given local municipalities the ability to.
Right.
And so, you know, okay, maybe they don't have their direct oversight over this little sub portion of Shelby County law or whatever, but they at least have some connection or the ability to have some connection. I'm sure that the different reps from different quarters of the state talk to each other from time to time and have some sort of contact. And probably more importantly, all their staffs probably all just hang out together because they're all Nashville people. I'm sure a bunch of their staff knows each other and hangs out and drinks on the weekends or whatever they do when they're not in the Capitol building. But yes, these are the things that I think. I don't think that was an inappropriate use of my elected officials' time.
Okay.
I think that is. I'm having an issue with I'm having a legal issue within the state of Tennessee that at minimum I don't think is justified. And to be fair in this whole conversation, I don't know that the two things are linked. It was just the timing seemed like they might be linked because shortly after said email, I got a email from the codes enforcement or the violation enforcement thing saying that it was that they dismissed the case. It could just be happy accident that the timing of when it tickled the back of my brain.
Right, the 5 people you talk to, maybe they're like, let's go back and review this real quick, and they're like, oh, okay.
Right, it could be completely by accident, and the two things are completely unrelated.
Because I thought that's what I remember hearing of, like, the red light cameras and whatnot around here, that you can essentially request an appointment to go down to, like, the city-county building, depending on, I guess, where the red light ticket was or whatever. But you could go down, essentially, like, sit down with someone and review it with them and be like, hey, see, that's not me, that's not my car.
Yeah, which you get it, but on a purely philosophical level, I shouldn't have to do that.
Okay.
I mean, I just shouldn't. It's their responsibility, not mine. If they want to drive from Memphis over here to arrest me to bring me back there to put me on trial for running a red light, then they can waste that money, and then I'll sue them for false imprisonment and all that kind of stuff. It's an easier lawsuit to win.
Okay.
I mean, you want to talk about counter?
Because they would arrest you over a traffic ticket.
I mean, okay. Well, so other than the assumption that you just don't pay it and nothing ever really happens, it just kind of sits there and eventually disappears or whatever. I mean, if it's an actual, like, if you actually have a ticket or a fine with a parking violation for the city of Knoxville, what happens if you don't pay your ticket? What happens if you don't show up? What happens if you don't pay a speeding ticket?
Generally, it'll just stay on your record. Right. And then I think you can...
Like, next time you get pulled over, you get a bigger one, and if you still don't pay it, next time you get pulled over, you might get detained. They might take your car.
No. I'm assuming you would still get a letter, but I mean, I'd say after 2 or 3 or something, they may, when you go back to try to, like, renew your license, be like, you've got to take care of these parking tickets before you can renew your license.
Right. On the parking ticket side.
parking tickets, speeding tickets, whatever.
Well, I mean, I think there's a little bit.
It's still a traffic violation.
Okay, fine. Okay, I mean, okay. So, I have to renew my license at some point.
Right.
I don't know when the next time I have to do it is. And do I want to deal with this 4 or 5 years from now when I have to renew my license and like, hey, you got an outstanding ticket you got to pay before we can renew your license? Because my stubborn dumbass will be like, well, fuck it, I won't renew my license then. And now I'm driving without a license.
I don't know. It seems like you care a lot about it, but at the same time don't care a lot about it. But you went through a lot of trouble to care about it and try to do something about it.
Sometimes things are on principle, and it's not so much the thing is that important in and of itself or not, but the principle of it is. And it was important enough to me that this
like that. If I was that fired up, like I'd be wanting to go to court and be like, "Motherfucker, this is what you guys did. I'm here."
Yeah, I don't want to drive to Memphis. I have no desire. Like maybe if we got lucky and scheduled it perfectly when I'm already almost to Memphis here in a month and a half anyway. Maybe if I could make it convenient to my life schedule. Not that there's anything convenient ever about driving all the way to Memphis, but at least it'd be less inconvenient since we're 2/3 of the way out there.
Just say you know a good lawyer.
Did
you try your lawyer first?
I did. He's like, I don't know. Like
Okay.
I like my I have a civil rights lawyer. He's
Right.
no good at anything.
Right, but I wonder if he could have informed you whether or not you have the ability to countersue. Be like, can I show up with, or can I take like a, plane, like take a plane there,
I mean,
then charge them for the plane that it took to fly me in?
What I need to do is I need to just get him to give me a letterhead with like the totality of a cease and desist, and I can just fill in the blanks. That's really all I want is just cease and desist letters, and then just send the cease and desist letter to this violation company. Be like, look, you have no right to do what you're doing. Leave me alone.
Right.
You've been warned. Yeah. Anyway, was it?
Was what?
I was trying to think of something. I thought of something in passing and then I forgot about it again. Rhonda Lee is trying to get the county to hate on sexual predators, which I think is like a fairly normal thing, but the way it's written, apparently in some other counties has been stuff that's been used to weaponize some trans issues and stuff like that.
I'm trying to remember. I saw, not really a bumper sticker, but it's one of those like stickers that people have on like their back window, and it was like a picture of like a figure like kneeling down and someone standing over them with like a gun to their head, and it's something about like pedophiles or something. I can't remember exactly what the wording was, and I was like,
the right way to fix them.
I was like, what the fuck?
This is what we should do to pedophiles, something like that.
Yeah, because that's a murderable offense.
I'm assuming that's what the sticker was. I'm not saying.
Basically, yeah.
I'm trying to fill in the gaps of what you're telling me about right now. I'm not trying to tell you my feelings on it.
Right.
I mean, usually, I think that's one of those that they always talk about that prison usually sorts that out for us.
Most of the time.
Yeah. I'm not too disappointed in it. As long as they were actually guilty of it. I don't like the idea of...
I don't like the idea of vigilanteism.
I don't disagree with that. But...
You are not the rule of law. Sorry.
No. I mean...
Yeah, it's just one of those like trucked out thing. They're just trying to act like a hard ass.
Sure.
In my opinion.
And it's an excuse to show off to the other inmates to...
Oh, no, I'm talking about douchebag with the sticker.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody likes to put their shit on their car.
That's why I go with Star Wars.
You should know how I feel about everything.
I like my Star Wars stuff.
Right.
I like Star Wars.
That I don't mind at
Get
all.
offended by that, bitches.
Right. I think I saw a picture of some car, and it was just a whole bunch of like honk if you love bumper stickers. And it was just like literally like bumper stickers.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
I was like, that's actually pretty clever.
Kudos to whomever. That's good.
Yeah.
Good laughs right there. I do. I think it's one of the. I think that's one of the things that. I think that's one of the biggest. Yeah, I think it's one of the worst things that Trump did to politics. Is this new fandom part of politics that is sticking around?
Fandom.
Yeah, I remember previous elections, like a Clinton election or something like that, where you'd see a bumper sticker, like a Clinton bumper sticker, like 3 years after they were elected. But you could see that it's been in the car for a while and it's starting to peel off and it's just kind of stuck there. It's
Right.
not that they're actively still huge Clinton fans.
Yeah,
or
it still seemed
even
like
not.
the occasional Bernie, and I was like, that's been a while.
Right. But I mean, like there's a dude that picks up at school when we're in the parking lot with his pickup truck that he flies 2 Trump flags off the back of his pickup truck.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now it makes a little bit of sense because we're ramping
Getting
up
a little closer.
We're ramping up into a cycle right now.
He's announced. So,
but it was there all year last year too. It's like, dude, what are we doing?
I gotta show my pride.
I mean, right?
Trump will be watching me,
right?
man.
Because it's like I said, it's turned into a fandom thing now instead of a politics thing.
Right? Yeah, it is kind of weird.
And it's like, and all the time, it's the virtue signaling argument that you always hear. Maybe not virtue signaling, but it's just signaling. We've turned into this like constantly signaling our political whatevers all the time.
Yeah.
Which is like that's the thing about that Oliver Anthony song that everybody got all bent out of shape about because it resonated so well with a certain set of people. I mean, we talked about it. The Malcolm Gladwell? I can't remember who the quote was. That
I don't think so.
It's like that art.
Or maybe I don't know.
It's that when art becomes appreciated for its viewpoints or how its viewpoints relate to you instead of its viewpoints on its own merits. Basically saying that you celebrate the art because it agrees with you, not because it's amazing.
Right.
Is when you know you're in some cultural decline. Is basically kind of the gist of it. And I think that's the Oliver Anthony song who has moved venues twice now.
Yeah,
He's now going out to Kodak.
Yeah.
Damn it. Couldn't have had this mess 2 years from now. We could put it right downtown, but whatever.
It's been like a clusterfuck of people that got tickets at the Joe or whatever. I'm like, okay, now
I've heard some
to the
conflicting
Civic.
stories on it. Now,
And it's like, okay, now it's going to be at the Civic. And they're like, okay, well, never mind. Like, do I keep getting my money back? Do I have to buy new tickets for the new venue?
And I saw a post from Oliver Anthony that said that all tickets purchased will be honored, regardless of where you bought the tickets for.
That sounds like a clusterfuck. Like, I had front row seats at the Civic or whatever. Like, now what do I have at the stadium?
Right.
Front row of the outfield?
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming he's all GAs anyway. It's not... At least what I understood of it is...
I don't really know where they do concerts.
Because the Joe isn't... I mean, the Joe's general admission. There's no seated...
Right.
There's like VIP stuff that they do, which is one of the things that got them all pissy about it in the first place. And now, that was one of the things that's interesting. And now, I've heard some different stories about the dude that runs the Joe on and off through the years, that he's kind of a douchebag.
He put out a statement.
Right. But basically, his statement was like, we would happily have charged $25 a ticket, but he's demanding like $250 for the $250,000 for the appearance. And there's no way that we can make...
I knew he was like demanding price, but he wanted a whole bunch of stuff. He was like, we want catering when he like...
Right, pay for the hotel.
Tour bus, hotel.
And like tax, or like...
He was like,
get us a car and all that kind of stuff.
What we got to spend to have security, and
right.
We were just barely going to...
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I misunderstood exactly what he was saying, but he said, basically he was saying it's going to cost at least $200,000 to have him here.
Yeah,
and there's no way we could have him here for $200,000 and only sell the tickets for $25 a piece,
right.
Or $50 a piece, or whatever he's demanding. I don't know. Like I
said,
kind
of pushed back, I guess, a little bit about the Anthony guy. He was like, they never reached out to me. I would have negotiated with them, but they just didn't. They didn't talk to me. Tell me they had an issue with blah 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 blah.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I've heard some rumors over the years that the Cotton Eye Joe guy's kind of a sleazebag anyway. So
I could almost assure it.
Well, I mean, this goes way back, and it may or may not be the
crazy
same
stories.
It may or may not be the same owner or the same management group or whatever it is.
Right.
But I mean, they used to be openly racist with their bouncers. Like they would just bounce black people.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Which like one of the most redneck people that I know is a black dude, and they bounced him. It's like this is like he is like.
Heard they get away with a lot of shit there. It just kind of flies under the radar.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't a very like. I think that I'm curious to see how it goes as that, because I mean, with Topgolf there and the other stuff that's going in and around there, because it used to be just kind of over there,
right?
And so it wasn't that big a deal when the stupid shit happened.
Yeah, there wasn't much around. It's pretty much an industrial complex, not too far away from it.
Right, it's just like a kind
businesses.
It's just kind of a gap of nothingness, and it's like, well, when stupid stuff happens out in nothingness, it's not that big a deal. But now that there's some real development and money going in around it, I'm sure they're going to get a little bit more attention from the sheriff's office and or KPD. Oh, I got to meet the Chief Noel this week.
Did you?
Yes. It was really
talk much.
Yeah, no, it was. I had a meeting with him. It was intentional. It was kind of funny because I'm sitting in there and there's, I don't know, all this. It's bureaucracy. There's different people that had different sub departments and all this kind of stuff. And so there's me and 4 cops in a room, and So Noelle wasn't there yet, and we were just kind of killing some time and chatting or whatever. And we started talking about Star Wars stuff, which is always a good place for me. And then somehow we got onto Tarantino films, and I'm like, I'm not a fan. And they're like, really? I was like, Reservoir Dogs was kind of fun, but I really turned into a hater with Pulp Fiction. Like everybody talks about how amazing Pulp Fiction is. And to me, it has some of the best dialogue, some of the best monologues ever in the history of film. The Royale with cheese conversation, the Ezekiel, whatever it is that Samuel does.
Yeah.
There's some great dialogue in it, but it's a dumb movie. The movie as a whole is just dumb. What actually happens? I can't quite understand the order because it's out of order on purpose. Maybe I'm not smart enough to get it. So blame it on me if you want to, but I just don't I'm a Tarantino hater, and that's when Noelle walks in the room. He's like, "Seen Jackie Brown?" It's like, "I think so." He's like, "Jackie Brown's a great movie." It's like, Pam Grier's pretty awesome, so I'll have to give it another shot just for you.
Yeah, that's one I haven't seen.
I was like, I gave him another shot with Django, and it's really just as many N-bombs as you can squeeze into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, I never saw that one either.
And it's like I like a lot of the actors. I like a lot of the people, like a lot of the different work to do. I mean, fucking, Jamie Foxx and God, what's her name? I can't remember. It's like she was a teen, like in the 80s. Like she was like a teen superstar in the 80s, and she
Django.
And yeah,
okay, I don't know.
I don't remember her name, but she is like this, like ratty West woman, like just out there. Been like, I don't know. Like the general premise is, like she's a bounty and she got picked up by a bounty hunter, and they're in this like shack out in the middle of like Wyoming or something like that. No, that's not Django. That's the Hateful Eight.
Okay,
I'm mixing them up anyway. It's him and but the Schultz guy or whatever, the dude with the super thick German accent.
Yeah.
Been in a couple of this anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Again, same deal. Dialogue was great. Nobody talks like that, but the dialogue was great. Leonardo DiCaprio's in that one. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, Sam Ells in it because Sam Ells in all his movies. But I just did, I just don't like his work. And so anyway, that's when Chief Noelle walks in, is when I'm in the middle of my why I hate Pulp Fiction rant. And so we'll see. We'll see what comes of that from that conversation, and whether it's pretty funny. Like I was like, "Hey, you know where to get a good frozen drink machine?" Because he's from New Orleans.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I might have a guy for you." It's like, "Cool, let me know."
Well, there's supposed to be. I don't know if it's open yet. I think there was some kind of like Mardi Gras themed bar opening up downtown.
Yeah, Fat Tuesdays, it's open.
Is it open? Yeah.
That was what he was telling me.
I thought it like announced it like last year, so I figured it was probably there already.
Yeah, he said he'd been down there and met a couple of the owners or managers or something like that. And I think it's a franchise now, or maybe not a franchise, but it's a chain now.
But he met
him and like the guys.
No, does he have a thick?
Not really, a little bit. It's
there.
It's there, but it's not super strong.
Gotcha.
But like the guy that runs it, whatever it is from New Orleans. So it's like, it's as authentic as it gets for Knoxville, at least.
Yeah.
So, but he's like, yeah, I think he could probably get you one shipped up here from New Orleans if you want. And I was like, okay. Like, I mean, it was kind of a throwaway joke,
right?
I did get him. I did get a verbal. He'll come on this podcast at some point. I was like, well, when you get that crazy media room where you're going to watch everybody walking around town thing, then we can come on the show and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
I was like, I have some philosophical issues with that. He's like, I understand. And like he started, and like I don't know, we'll see. He started in on a kind of, and I mean, he's not wrong. You've got to make the decision on what you want, and is it privacy or safety? Like he started there, and he kind of cut it off because we didn't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Right.
And I was like, yeah. Anyway, we've got this thing going on over here, and we have a couple events coming up, and I just wanted to make you aware of what we're working on and stuff like that. And so I pushed us back into the point.
Nice little transition.
Right. I was like, I don't like, I'm trying to be nice at this point. I'll pick fights with you later. And in hindsight, if I would have thought about it, I should have asked him about my Memphis Light ticket.
Yeah. He may have been.
See what his thoughts were. Not ask him to take care of it, just to see what his thoughts were. And so, yeah, no, I'll leave that out. Okay. That was fun. It was interesting. It was cool. you know, like he seems at least down with trying to get, you know, he wants like, he wants to see, he wants businesses to flourish around the city.
Right.
And so what's within his capacity to do, he's willing to do. Is basically what he told me. And he said, just be in touch. If you need anything from us, let us know. And basically handed me off to his, because one of the first things he did was he split the city up.
Right.
The old KPD was an east-west. And he split it to a central and an east-west. And so he has an eastern commander, which is over our location, whom he was like, you know, he's going to be the point on all these things. If it needs to come to me, it comes to me. But for the most part, this is the guy that you need to talk about, whatever you're doing, whatever you need, what's going on.
I wonder if we actually have any just like pedestrian cops, like just
Yeah.
on their feet cops.
I mean, it's one of the things I kind of
always
hinted
got
at.
bike
I was
cops.
like, I don't want 20 of you guys down there all the time, but I wouldn't mind seeing you guys around every once in a while.
I feel like they do in Great Britain, have like the police box.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like seasonally we have bicycles that go around certain areres of town.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I know we
Ride
have some
around
bike
their bikes
cops.
and stuff. And I was told by somebody that they kind of have a program where you can request, I can't remember, there's some name for it or whatever, but you can request basically it says, you know, if you're in the, you know, because they subdivide the city into 3 major parts, and then inside that there's a bunch of little subdivisions. And so if you're in, you know, the Eastern District Command Patrol 6, and you do these like 5 neighborhoods, that you can request that if you're not on a call, that you hang out here.
Yeah.
And so I kind of did that indirectly. Like, I don't know if there's like a paperwork thing, but I was like, I heard that was kind of a thing. Like I said, I don't want like 20 of you guys hanging out all the time, because people get weird about that when they're out at the
Right.
bars and stuff. But, you know,
I remember being at Barley's and some other bars a few times, like downtown Grill and Brewery, on like a Friday, Saturday night, where it wasn't uncommon for, you know, an officer to walk in uniform, kind of wasn't there for more than maybe like 10, 15 minutes. We would just kind of like walk around and then walk back out.
yeah, because I mean, I think just like, you know, when
Some of it's just all about presence.
right when people get the used to the idea that there is a presence,
Right. They're less likely to.
you know, they're
You give the perception of,
right. The mentality of, well, I could do whatever I want and get away with it because
right, there's no cops here. I've never
I
seen a
can punch
cop
you
in
in the
here.
mouth and run, and there's nothing's going to happen.
Right.
Like, well, I can punch you in the mouth and run, but there might be a cop around the corner,
Yeah.
and I'm going to have to at least answer to my assault. You know, and so that's kind of where that meeting kind of left off, at least. Yeah, so it was fun. It was interesting. Got to check out the new building a little bit. It's all sorts of construction. Like, there was like a crew putting air ducts in the hallway as I was walking down it.
One on Broadway.
Yeah, the old St. Mary's. Like,
Yeah.
it was kind of weird. Like, there was a little bittersweet to it because, like, I tried to go in the wrong parking lot, which is like one of their parking lots. It's all barricaded or whatever. It's got the like arm gate things.
Yeah.
Which was the old. At least for us, that's where I went and got the car and pulled the car and parked the car there and went inside and got the missus and the baby.
Yeah.
Like, that was the newborn exit
Yeah.
covered area or whatever. And I was like, last time I was here, I was with my baby. And so I had to tell that story to the secretary on my way in while we were doing whatever. But it was weird because, like, the end of the hallway where the elevator banks are, there was just kind of some sheetrock up, and you could see some light between it. And so, like, I was like, if I just push my hand on that, is it going to go through and I'm going to fall down 5 stories? Or is there, like, actually something behind that? She's like, I don't know. She's like, it depends. Like, she said something about, like, sometimes the elevators just don't go. Like, they've had a bunch of instances where people get stuck on the elevators. They just stop for some reason.
So like the old original elevators, I assume.
I think I was assuming it was more of they've got all this different work going different places and they're shutting different things on and off. And,
Oh, gotcha.
and
So they can do electrical, yeah.
Right, old wiring, new wiring, and things are hooked up places that aren't hooked up and whatever.
Did see, I guess we got some new images from the James Webb Space Telescope.
Neat.
Apparently it's kind of sparked a debate between astrophysicists. 'Cause I guess, and what they've seen, they're able to like look back even like further away and kind of, I guess, and from our perspective, back in time, essentially.
Right.
When you think about how long it takes for the actual light to get to the lens of the satellite. But I guess what they're seeing in some of the galaxies, they would think would be a lot less developed, but they're more developed. And one guy equated it to like going into kindergarten and seeing a teenager.
Expectation-wise, they expected A and got B.
Kind of, yeah. But there was a couple of different theories for it. Like they could be looking at supermassive black hole that just makes that universe look bigger and whatnot. I mean,
I don't.
Many of things. That's the kind of like complicated thing when you're looking essentially back like 200 billion years or whatever.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Many million.
It's
light
beyond
years away. Yeah,
it's beyond my
comprehension.
Right.
Like you really can't fathom how large the universe truly is.
Well, there's a little bit of me. It's like there's a little bit that I like. It's sometimes it's neat. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson is the man.
Oh yeah, he just makes it sound interesting.
He makes it more palatable, but not really. Like I don't understand it, but I feel like I understood it when he talks about it. I couldn't explain it to you 5 minutes later after he explained it to me. But
you're like, yeah, that makes sense. He does kind of simplify it and makes it a little bit more understandable.
Right. But there's a certain point to me where it's like and again, maybe this is the economist in me. Where's the value in some of this stuff? Like at some point, I have no qualms with the seeking out new and exciting knowledge, but when we're talking like how much did the James White, it's the Knoxville thing, James Webb Telescope cost?
No idea.
How much, that was a NASA project, right? We paid for that as part of NASA.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of me that gets into that fiscal issue to say, okay, it's neat, but is that what we need to be spending our money on? Is that the appropriate use of our funds?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to pick a fight on it, but is that a reasonable thing to ask,
yes.
or is that too much?
No.
I am trying to pick
No,
a
it's
fight.
not. No, that's not reasonable. Yes, it's a valuable value.
Okay.
It's a valuable cost, yes.
Okay. I disagree, but that's fine. You that's it. If you see value in it, then I will leave it alone.
I mean, going to the moon? No. Sorry. That's a waste of money, in my opinion. I don't know why we're sending shit. Though I think we're waiting on, what did I just see? I think here in the next day or two, we've got something coming back. I think it's actually like meteor chunks or something that was gathered somehow. I didn't read the full story. I just kind of saw the headline. But apparently, I guess we're kind of crossing our fingers that, I guess, upon re-entry, it actually lands and doesn't fuck up what was collected.
Right. Nothing comes back.
Yeah.
All burns up or whatever. I mean, I guess that's a okay.
What?
No, I was going to say I could see the value in that, where we're actually getting to see what some otherworldly matter is. It's all made up of the same things. I get it, but it's different.
Possibly, but I would think the likelihood that meteor was from outside of our solar system. I'd say most of the meteors are ones that have been within our solar system.
Right. But it's still, I mean, I would still think it would be. I mean, I don't know, because I think there's a real there's you see The Expanse. It's
what?
The Expanse. It was a future drama show.
No.
It's got a whole thing. It's thousands of years or whatever, and Mars is colonized, and there's a whole subset of civilization that lives on the asteroids in the asteroid belt, and they're just mining the asteroids all the time.
Right.
I don't disagree that there is some reasonable outlook that is a future possibility that we will be doing extraplanetary
colonization.
Commerce. Yeah.
Sure as hell not within our lifetime.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it would take some major leaps in jet propulsion. Because the one that they're talking about is going to Mars, but I think I forget how long it would take with the current rockets that we have. How long it would still take just to get to Mars?
It's 8 years. It's not that long.
Something. Yeah,
I mean,
it's not that long.
It's not like it's not like you have to have a generational setup on some sort of ship that you have to have, parents and children and grandchildren before you get there.
Right.
It's 8 years isn't that long. It's not nothing. Don't get me wrong, but
I mean, hell, I hate transatlantic flights. Think about 8 years. Are we there yet? No. 7.5 more years.
Well, I mean, we'll get like Wall-E. You know, we'll have our floating chairs and everything's in a slurry. And
Yeah, it's possible.
That was a movie. An interesting take on it. It's a weird movie. I've seen some fan theory stuff on it, and I mean, I think it's stuff like, you know, the Pixar people are pretty smart. They like to sneak some stuff in that's, you know, it's not really important for the story, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Somebody did a screen grab of, there's like one shot in the movie where it's kind of, part of it's like showing off how fat everybody gets. Where like the first captain on like when the voyage started was like a skinny looking dude or whatever, and then everybody's getting fatter. But underneath it shows their term as captain, and as they get fatter, they get longer. Like the last one before the current captain in the movie was like 200 years old, or the time span was like 200 years underneath his name. And like I think like the theory is that like the fan theory was based on a theory that you live longer in lower gravity or something like that. It was like some overly complicated double.
I could maybe see that.
Like unimportant for the movie's sake, but just like hey, I work at Pixar and I'm a dork and I'm going to sneak this little dorky thing in that I know. And it's there. Excuse me. So we don't like... Go ahead.
I was just trying to see what else was going on. Thought I'd heard a couple other like interesting stories recently. I keep forgetting to like bookmark them or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that one week where he sent me like 20.
I don't think I sent you that many.
It was a handful. It wasn't a ton. You're right. I don't
think it was that recently. I think I may have sent you like 3 last week.
It was like a couple weeks ago. You sent me like 3 or 4, and they were all on like Friday. They were all on Friday too. That was kind of like,
a couple of them was interesting. I don't know if it was anything we really actually talked much about. I think like one of them was something I thought would be interesting to talk about. Somewhere I just thought it was like, hey, you might find this interesting.
So to correct the record from last week, we started off last week talking about donations and stuff. Jennifer Owens, who is a listener, had messaged me, who I trust with her knowledge of these things, said that a House candidate's donation button on their website has to be inactive or hidden during session. And we were talking about whether they're allowed to fundraise or not. And so even that. So I kind of see it. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like, I kind of like it, but I kind of don't. Like, I like the idea of it, but I don't know necessarily that I like the execution. Maybe that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because in execution, it seems to be that they are hustling through sessions so they can get out and get back to that job, instead of focusing on and taking the time necessary to go through the 1,600 bills a session.
I don't know. I mean, like a couple of years ago when I was watching a lot more, like they were there most of the day, like Monday through Thursday, pretty much Monday through Friday. I don't think they go all week.
No, that's Monday through Thursday. They're supposed to be off Fridays.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be off Fridays so they can go back to their districts for the weekend.
But I mean, they were going for at least like 4 or 5 hours.
I mean, again, to beat the dead horses is that, you know, should it be a year-round position? I don't know. But I think the more important question is, to me at least, the beating the dead horse part is, do 1,600 things need to happen every year? Need to be considered every year? Do they need to be looking at that many things? Does that make sense? Because the other part of it too is you have houses with their subcommittees where essentially it's like 3-1, 4-1 in state senators. So everything that the House does, a senator has to see 4 times as many.
Yeah,
because the way the population splits between the two bodies. And so like the senators are looking at the same total number, but their subcommittees on the same things are smaller. So they have to see more things and do all that kind of stuff.
I doubt everyone in the Congress puts forward, 20 bills every single year. So some do a lot more than others. I think you've talked about before, like there is like a limit as to how many bills they can propose per year.
And so, but it's one
I
of those
doubt that many people actually meet that limit.
Right, but there's ones that will do like 60 because they'll dump 10 off to people that do 0.
Right, true.
And so they have people that, so it's not necessarily like, yes, that technical limit is met, but there's ways around it because of,
You can only sponsor so many bills, I guess.
Right. You can only submit so many bills.
Oh, okay.
You could sponsor and co-sponsor as many as you want, but to be like this, because I mean, you were talking about it in some of the sessions and subcommittees that you'd watch, is like, people were saying, well, I submitted this bill on behalf of.
Yeah, it was when they were questioning, like, where did this bill come from? It was usually like the opposing side that was like, where did you come up with this idea to do this? Was this a constituent that brought this issue to you?
I mean, again, it's just it begs it just begs the question to me. It's like it seems like there's a lot of things going on, and is the necessity there for those things going on? Like, do we want to make the argument that they should be there longer? Because again, to me, I don't think they spend enough time on the ones they do have. But if we, permit them or change the function of the job so that they're there longer, is the return of that going to be more things? Or is it going to be more time spent on the things?
I mean, if you interviewed a handful of people that are in or have been in that position, have they ever talked anything about that?
I mean, no. I mean, the conversations that I've had is that, a lot of, like, there are times where it's just, when it gets into general session and it's a full floor vote or something like that, I don't know a lot about some of the details of some of these things. It's a Cliff Notes version that I got from a staffer, or it's somebody on the subcommittee that brought it to the floor, whom I know and trust, that tells me that this is what's going, does a general version of it and kind of gives me a walkthrough. And it's like, so, I didn't put it in such terms, but it's like, so you're telling me you didn't read the bill that you signed.
Right.
But that's essentially a yes. And it's not a surprising yes, because it's too much. It's too much.
As far as when they were voting for it?
Yeah. I understand the premise, and just in functional process, there's no way that many bills there's going to have a full floor debate,
right,
where every House member or senator or whatever it is can get up and ask questions and propose amendments, or do a minor speech on why this is a good or a bad idea or whatever. Like, it's just because it would be 10 hours, 5 days straight, and you'd still have 20 people waiting to talk.
I think a lot of the debate I saw was done more so in the subcommittees. That's usually, if it was some kind of transportation bill, they had a TDOT rep. For an education bill, they had the education secretary.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's more where some of the questions kind of get fleshed out.
Right, which again, functionally on how to get through a day and stuff like that makes sense, but it's like, okay, well, let's flesh out all this stuff. Let's get it rewritten in clear, logical English. And then when it goes to the floor, everybody who's voting on it needs to at least have read it and understood what's in front of them and then vote on it. But that doesn't seem to be the situation either. Like, I agree, like, the subcommittee idea makes sense to me. You spend more time focusing on this, figure out the details, break it down, push back on things that don't make sense, do all that kind of stuff over there. But then when you bring that thing to the floor, it needs to be clear and concise, that we can all, spend an hour reading through it, making sure it's clear and concise.
Right.
And then let's get it on the floor. And then I read it. I'm going to vote on it. Moving on.
I mean, I'd be curious to see, like, the percentage of bills that come out of the subcommittee, and then how long there is between finally coming out of all the subcommittees that it has to go through before it finally goes to a floor vote. Because going through those subcommittees, I think there are, like, certain amendments that are added or certain things that are taken away, and they do amend things. They're like, hey, I think we need to change the wording on this because this is kind of vague, or this could lead to this if we do that.
Right. I'm sure somebody has done something like it. If I would love to do it if I had the time and energy.
But I mean, I wonder how much, like, time frame is, like you said, like, once they finally get the final bill, it's going to go to the floor. Right. Or how much time there is between that and when it actually goes to the floor.
But I would love to do a podcast series that is on one bill, just one thing. Just pick one thing right at the beginning of the session, something that Gloria or an Elaine Davis wants to put in. Because, I mean, they're starting to work on them now.
Right.
So they could submit them, whatever the date is that they submit them all by in, like, December or whatever before the next session starts. So they're all working them up right now, which I guess now that just kind of tickled the back of my brain. While they're out fundraising is when they're working on bills for next year. Just throwing that out there because it hit my head. But I would love to just, like, attach myself to an Elaine Davis or somebody and just follow one. It's like, I don't care what you're doing. I'm not paying attention to anything else you're doing, but anything that involves this bill, I want a million hours of tape on it, every little subset piece of the process, and then I'll spend the next 3 years clipping that down into a 10-hour series on this is what happened. This is how it happens. These are the discussions that happened. And I would love to kind of see that in like a one fluid motion.
Right. I thought of something you were saying. You're not wondering, or you wonder whether or not it's worth being there a year, but at the same time, you want them to take the time to read through each bill.
Right. My concern would be, though, if we say, okay, well, it's a full-time job, spend the whole year there. My concern would be that they're going to add more bills, not spend more time on the bills they have. That would be my concern. So, well, if we're going to be here all year, we might as well double or triple the amount of bills we're working on.
Right.
You know, and again, it's like, I don't like, you know, obviously putting limitations on the total number of bills is a thing that's willing to be done. It's not a limitation on the total number of bills. I mean, I guess in theory, however many House members times 20 or whatever the number is the maximum number of bills that are allowed per session. So if they're willing to put a maximum number of bills per session, why did they pick that number they picked? Like, I don't know. I mean, again, I agree with you because there's a lot of little stuff that's just little like maintenance things. They're updating things that's, you know, Department of Ag's got something on this. We need to adjust this. We need to amend this one phrase in there, and that's a bill. It has to go through the process because we have
some
to
of it's just as far as like updating because times are changing.
Right, and I get that. I get that as a thing.
Right,
and maybe you classify them differently. You know, you classify them as correction updates to old bills versus new, fresh 100% bills, and you minimize the fresh ones.
Right.
You know, if like this is needed update stuff, then do it. Don't be limited by 20 per person. If you go through, if I ran for House and I go through like the Tennessee Code annotated 10 million items that are in there or whatever, and I get a team together and go through there and I find thousands of things that need to get fixed, updated, deleted, whatever it is, let's do it. You know, let's just start the process and let's try to get all these things cleaned up because it's dumb and it's old. Like you can't tie your alligator to a fucking horse post or whatever it is.
Right.
You know, let's get those things cleaned up. Don't limit those. But, you know, when we're talking about, I don't know, the abortion bans or abortion timings, or we're talking about transgender rights in school system sports or whatever it is, let's narrow those down because they're big issues that need real conversation. Because I think because all of them are very nuanced and detailed, and I think things like Eddie Manis brings up, it's like this doesn't affect anybody. What are we doing? Why are we wasting time on this? That should be a real part of the conversation. This is a waste of time. It doesn't affect anybody. You know, like, and again, like a more poignant personal example is the new hemp law that went into effect. Let's really sort this thing out and let's present something that's clear and understandable so that the people who are now subject to this new law can perform underneath it correctly without having a million questions. Let's talk to the people that have to deal with it. And how's a good way to set this up that makes it easy and straightforward and logical for them?
Yeah.
You know, instead of just kind of putting it through and then saying, revenue, go collect the money. And, hey, revenue, how do I collect this money? What exactly do I collect it on? We don't know yet. It's up to agriculture. Hey, agriculture, revenue says I need to ask you what I need to collect this on. Well, we're not doing our stuff yet until the beginning of next year. So I've got 6 months of fuck if I know.
Yeah.
Just guessing. Which I guess is cool because I can't get in trouble. Maybe. I hope.
I mean, that's kind of the inference I would take.
I mean, that's the hope. You know, but I don't know. You know, I don't know. And it's written so poorly and nobody who's in it can answer my question.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you know, maybe if we took some more time on it, we wouldn't have to do this. We wouldn't have to have this weird unmatched cycle of when things take effect. Like, I think that should be a rule, period. Right. If you have anything that involves multiple departments, both departments need to have the totality of the setup put in place before either one starts acting on it.
Right. Well, that's where I'd probably be calling like every day, see if I can get somebody different. Like, hey, right down, like, all right, I talked to Bob yesterday. Today I'm talking to Sally. I'm like, okay, I already talked to Bob. He didn't know anything. Talk to Sally. They don't know anything. Go back in. Oh, I got Sally. Yeah, I already know you don't know anything. Is there somebody else there I can talk to?
I mean,
I just keep like reminding him, like, hey, I talked to you yesterday. These are the answers that I need, and these are what you're not giving me.
I mean, I've got the response of there's nothing has changed since last time we talked.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's not acceptable to me. I need an answer to this.
Right.
I don't know what I'm doing, and I want to do it correctly.
I mean, have you said that to them?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's like I like this is
like, yeah, just keep good records just in case.
Right. Which I don't even know what that means.
You thought they were alluding to an audit.
Yeah, that
But
was
I mean,
my
if
take
you-
on it.
I'm assuming the audit rates are probably probably similar to the IRS, where it's like 1%.
I'd be curious how much they've already collected in 2 months now.
Right.
The earlier this week was the second cycle of payments for the new hemp tax. I'd be curious how much the state has already collected. It is probably an obnoxiously large number. All right, you got a news of the weird? What are you looking at?
I was trying to see if I can find out more about that asteroid of where it was. They said it was 200 million miles away, I guess. But I don't know if that's still within our solar system.
Yeah, probably. If they're still talking in miles, I think it's probably within our solar system.
It's a 4.5 billion old pebbles
Pebbles.
inside the return capsule. They're thought to be pristine leftovers from the early days of the solar system, when the planets were first forming.
Neat.
So I guess it was within our solar system.
Yeah, some of the shit that broke off when the moon ran into the Earth whatever.
Yeah.
And the moon didn't run into the Earth.
Yeah, they think there was a large asteroid that broke off chunks of
Right.
and then formed the moon.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was reading that I read something on a bunch of like facts on platinum, and apparently I think there's more like pure platinum in the moon or on the moon.
The new iPhone's got platinum on it.
A lot of shit has platinum in it. Apparently, there's like cancer drugs that have it. I think they're in like pacemakers. 'Cause it's got some crazy property. Like I think it's superconductive. No, not superconductive. I think it's like super clean. I can't remember.
It's fancy.
Obviously, it's a very precious metal.
It's fancy. Yeah, so we're making iPhones out of them because that's precious.
I'm pretty sure it's in a hell of a lot of electronics. I don't know why you want to keep saying, we're making iPhones. I'm pretty sure they've been in fucking iPhones for probably at least 2 decades.
Well, they've made a big deal about it because the case of the iPhone is made out of platinum.
Okay, well, you didn't say that. You
Or
were just
maybe
saying it's in the
titanium.
iPhone.
I don't know. It's made a big deal. The new iPhone came out last week or whatever.
Yeah.
It's got a USB-C finally.
I heard that, yeah. That was more thanks to the Europeans.
Yeah.
I wish we're always behind the fucking Europeans on everything. Wish we could catch up with their privacy laws.
I would be down with the privacy part, but the USB-C has nothing to do with the privacy part. But that is a European thing that they made the USB-C require, or they made the mini USB compatible required years ago.
No, they were requiring phone manufacturers to start making more like interchangeable.
Yeah, but that's not a privacy thing.
No, I was
agreeing. Yes, I was saying that's not a privacy thing, but yes, they
I wasn't saying it was a privacy thing.
You did. You
I was just giving another example of how we were behind on rules that Europe has made. We're finally like, okay, yeah, maybe that is a good idea. Which that isn't why the iPhone's doing it now. Well, they are and aren't, just because it's a worldwide product.
right.
And they figure if they've got to do it for a good chunk of the world population.
Might as well do it for all of them.
Right.
Yeah. It seems like a logical premise to me.
Right. There was something recently. I think it was like the iPhone 12 model. I don't know if it was Europe or like France and specific, but I think it was causing like a certain level, and it's really low anyway, but a certain level of like radiation. But I guess like Apple conceded to, I guess, lawsuits that had gone out, and they're actually allowing people to trade in their phones.
Not a battery thing?
No.
I heard there were some lawsuits over the battery thing.
Yeah, that already got settled.
Yeah.
I wish I would have gotten a part of that, but that's a story I was reading. Like,
I got $1
unless you
from-
got into the...
I got $1 from TurboTax.
Really?
Yeah, apparently part of that settlement.
I did sign up for the Facebook one, which that could go on for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm involved in a couple of lawsuits right now. It's kind of weird. But I'm going to, hold my tongue. Well, I mean, I've already talked about we're suing the IRS right now.
Right.
But everybody who did business through the pandemic is suing the IRS right now.
Yeah.
I need to reach out to that lawyer, see what our time frame is. He said I need to
Wouldn't
double
hurt.
check. I asked him, I was like, okay, so we're good on the paper? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, so what now? He's like, I think he said like 3 to 6 months, and it's been a couple months now, so.
I mean, bookkeepers may be able to, might know something.
Well, that's how, the attorney is, that's how we got the attorney, was through our bookkeeping service.
Right.
But yeah, he said typically clients are getting their restitution or whatever the phrasing of it is within a certain time period, and I just don't remember what that is, nor when I asked that question, so I don't know exactly how long it's been. Give it to me, the news of the weird. I'm gonna work on my phrasing there. I almost got it.
Sorry, I had the wrong thing pulled up here. Ha 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 ha. I remember it, but I just wanted to quote it correctly here.
Are you going to come out and hunt? Are you going to come out and do Chuck's On this weekend?
Possibly. Depending on the day. I think I may have a... depends on if there's a wedding. My cousin's getting married in North Carolina.
Gotcha.
On Tuesday. I think they were going to try to have some kind of reception. Or the main reception, I think, is like Friday night. I already told them, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to make that. Because I'll be getting out of work.
I'm still not sure. Like, I'm not doing Friday morning. It's just Friday, Saturday.
Right.
I'm definitely not going to be able to do Friday morning. I'm trying to see if I can figure out how to do Friday afternoon tonight, and then I'll probably at least do the early part Saturday. I'll get up stupid early Saturday. Get up there at 4 in the morning or whatever.
Apparently the fam's renting a cabin, but I guess a lot of people are coming from out of town. I guess they were going to have some kind of like get together on Saturday, but people coming from out of town, I guess some people are talking about just wanting to like see the area since they hadn't been out. I've been in those parts. And some people, I think, were driving back to wherever they're coming from on Saturday as well, because they were pretty much just coming in for the wedding Friday.
The wedding's here or North Carolina? You said
North Carolina, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, you already said that part. Anyway. That wasn't the news of the weird people, just in case you were curious. His way to fill some time while he was trying to find his link.
An Israeli tank was stolen from a military zone. Authorities found it in a junkyard.
Okay. So they took the tank to the chop shop. Okay, I get it.
I'm assuming they just abandoned it.
Probably took joyrided for a little bit.
Stole it. What the fuck do we do? Like, take it out of the junkyard, see if it'll blend in with a bunch of other, like, rusty, big metal shit.
I mean, maybe it's the junkyard people because it's, it's probably good, but a recyclable metal that's got some good value in it.
Right.
Because it ain't light.
Yeah. Israeli authorities are trying to figure out how a heavily armored but unarmed tank was stolen from a military training zone after finding it discarded in a junkyard.
So they didn't even know it was missing until they found it.
Let me see.
That's what that phrase sounded like. It sounded like they found it and were like, how do we lose this?
Decommissioned years ago, was unarmed. Said it had been used most recently as a stationary vehicle for soldiers' exercises. Oh, I guess they've already arrested 2 suspects in connection with the theft. Yeah, but it doesn't say, like, if they discovered it missing at some point.
Like I said, that's probably, like, I like AP because they're just the facts.
Well, a lot of these like news of the weird. I mean, they're not going to expound on it.
But there's not a lot of context and understanding. Like, this is what happened. But how did it happen? I don't understand.
Did they rename the Wienermobile? It's actually from Madison.
Oscar Mayer.
Just 4 months ago, after announcing that the hot dog-shaped Wienermobile was changing its name to the Frankmobile.
Oh.
The distinctive wiener on wheels is reverting to the original. Oh, so I guess they changed the name back.
I didn't know I just assumed that was a nickname that was not an official name in the first place. I just assumed everybody called it the Wienermobile. Not that it was called the Wienermobile. That's just what everybody called it.
I saw it in Turkey Creek years ago.
I saw it like 2 years ago down in Maryville.
I guess they had a bunch of like little Wienermobile, like little whistles. They gave it to the kids at the time.
Blowing weenies. Check herd.
Yep.
I don't... Yeah, I assumed that they, copyright the phrase and did all that kind of stuff for branding's sake, but I just assumed it was never actually officially called that. They just, said okay because that's what everybody called it.
So got some bears in Alaska that raided a Krispy Kreme donut van at an Alaska military base, nonetheless.
I'm surprised Krispy Kreme's in Alaska.
I'm not surprised. It'd be even more rare. Probably charge the shit. That's probably like $10 a damn donut.
Oh. I mean, they because all the mix comes from the North Carolina
Or help.
facility.
Maybe only the military bases have it. Maybe that's the only way to get it.
Perhaps. Special.
Got a woman rescued from outhouse toilet after climbing in to retrieve Apple Watch. Sounds like a pretty shitty day.
I don't know. I've had to go in the toilet after a few things after the kids. So that doesn't, I mean, outhouse is extra gross, but.
Well, I dropped the phone once in the toilet. I still don't know how the hell I did it.
I don't remember what the most recent one was, but it was just Dad, I dropped the blue in the toilet.
He did what?
Okay.
Where is it? It's still in there.
Like, yeah, just get it out and wash your hands. It's all good, man. We're covered with that filth anyway. It's our own filth. All right, one more. Give me one more. Give me something good. See if it.
That was the best of them.
That was the best of them? Man, rough week.
I don't think there was anything else crazy.
Rough week. All right. Well, we may or may not record next week. I don't know. We'll have to see how the hunting schedule goes. I got my bow back today. I'm gonna throw a couple downrange tomorrow to test the sights and get out there and get after it at old Chuck Swanee. I have a vendetta at Chuck Swan. I really want to harvest something from there. I'm excited. This is the earliest I think I've ever gone out. Will be this
Patience, grasshopper.
Yeah, I'm excited to be out early. You know, I mean, there's like.
Yeah, I forgot it was like the first day of fall, like a day or two ago.
Today.
Was it today?
Was it today or yesterday? 21st, 22nd?
That's what I was thinking. Somebody told me it was like a couple days ago. I was like, I swear it was like the 21st of like everything, pretty much, or of all the months, basically.
Yeah, I get the solar map or the lunar map gets confusing to me quite often. Lunar calendar, excuse me.
I think it still goes off the sun.
I think it's both. It's complicated. Yeah, that's where we're gonna.
Yeah.
Which button is it? Almost hit the wrong button. Next week on the show, we're going to talk about our constellations and our signs. So we'll tell you all about how the retrograde Mars affects our hunting trip. So we're Almost Agreement at gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go to our website, almostagreement.com. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Like us, friend us, follow us, share us. Do whatever it is that you can do to help spread the word. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. I don't know. It's been a weird year. At some point, I'll start getting some interviews going back again. Just can't seem to get a schedule settled in. So, anyway, we're Almost Agreement, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to y'all soon.